Hey, Chad Leistico, Des Moines Register. I don't know if you've thought about this, but the game the other day had so many analogies to the 2002 Iowa State game. We ran the ball great. Veteran team, big second athlete, but melted away. Kind of some weird stuff happened, I guess. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I just wondered if you kind of drew that comparison, and also like, that was a long time ago, but like, sure. what did that particular team do to move on from such a disappointment in that way?
Yeah, I can even top you on that one. Coincidentally, Brad Banks was here on Sunday in the office. He was at the game and came through, and we got to spend some time with him. We talked about that game. I always think the great thing about Brad's story and probably that team story is how he did respond. And everybody knows Brad Banks, Player of the Year and runner-up to the Heisman, and obviously played really well all season long. But what an easy path, and what you're referencing there, that third quarter especially was really rough. And I share that story a lot with our players annually, and that the essence of what Brad did that year, in my opinion, is I don't think anybody felt worse. Talk about investment. Nobody feels worse after a game in that case than him. But he went back to work. And Brad's pretty unflappable. That's one characteristic he really I think embodies. And 2 weeks later, we're in the very same situation. We got a big lead at Penn State, and all of a sudden that fourth quarter disappeared, and we're in overtime. And I would suggest a big part of the reason we won that game was Brad's performance in overtime. So, it's just the kind of one of those stories I cover annually at the team. And, that's the right idea. Like, that's what you're looking to do, and then the rest is history. Not that the whole season was smooth, but it was hard. So, those are things we talk about in camp. That's part of the curriculum, if you will. And just, during the season, you're going to encounter disappointments. And that's one of the more disappointing losses I've ever been involved with on a personal basis. But, life goes on. And it's what you do in response that really matters.
Scott Huckham in The Athletic. I wanted to ask you about the run game, where it looks like you're not necessarily running the same type of outside slant. It's more of a tighter slant. It's maybe more directed towards the tackle. And it also seems like your guards are able to kind of be tighter in the way they get to the second level. Kind of how did that evolution take place? And so far, at least through two games, it seems to have some really good results.
Yeah, really, technically, there are a couple slants that we have. One is wider, to your point, and then one is a little tighter, to your point, and then also an inside zone scheme and a couple other things with it. But bottom line, in what you saw Saturday, the way they play their defense, their interior guys really squeeze the line. So that's why our guards were coming off the way they were on the linebackers. Against other teams, you may get guys that are playing deeper and coming over the top. So that kind of dictates what the guard's path is going to be. It's a tough defense to run against. I thought we did some really good things there and some good awareness by the guys involved in it. And but we don't have it figured out. I can promise you, if you were at today's practice, you'd see some things that need to get cleaned up. But a lot of it's dictated by, again, we do have a couple different calls there, but it's dictated about how the defense played, and they're really aggressive inside the tackle box. The Iowa State defense is.
Adam Shdobi, Hawkeye Weekend. Kirk, you mentioned Brad Banks in particular. In 2001, there were a few instances, a few series where you brought him in to relieve McCann, just as sort of a change of pace sort of guy. When you look at the QB situation this season, is there ever a situation where you're thinking that maybe Sullivan can be that change of pace, faster QB for somebody like McNamara?
Yeah, it's twofold with Brad. Part of it was he was a different kind of quarterback than Kyle. We talked a lot about Kyle too, and big takeaway for me was, and Brad shared this with a couple other people, but he learned from Kyle, and there's a lot of good things that he brought up that day. Just watching how Kyle performed during the 2001 season, his takeaways from it, I thought they were really pretty astute. So, there are two different guys, but our thinking was that, Brad was a guy that we thought had a good future here a year later, and we were going to get him involved if possible weekly. But that was dictated by Brad's performance in practice, and we'll keep an open mind to anything. Obviously, if it's going to help us win games now, that's first priority. And then secondly, if a player, we rotated other positions, it's a little tougher at quarterback, and we take the right guy, but Brad certainly was the right guy.
Thanks, John.
John Steffi, Cedar Rapids Gazette. First of all, kind of the inevitable injury question. Seems like it's just Seth and Jaden at this point that are still out.
Yeah, I think Jaden probably will miss this one, it looks like. got a couple guys that are limited in practice right now, so hopefully they'll be ready by game time.
And would Seth be in that limited?
No, I don't see that happening this week. He's missed too much time.
And then with Caleb Johnson.
Hopefully moving forward, though. Hopefully.
With Caleb Johnson, kind of what's the biggest thing you've seen this year from him compared to last year?
I just think maturity and focus. You know, it's like any player. You know, it's rare for a freshman to play a veteran guy. Rare. But, you know, he did a lot of good things the last 2 years. I just think he's really has a much better feel for what he's doing. He's a little bit more patient than he was, and he's running really strong. Obviously, he had some really nice runs the other day. I thought his best runs were at the end of the game, where he ran strong and broke some tackles. And you know, there wasn't a lot there, but he was making yards. So to me, if he can keep integrating that into his style play, it's really going to help us.
Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines Register. When Caleb's playing the way he is, when the O-line is playing the way they are, like, I guess from an X's and O's standpoint, what does that do for the passing game, and like what are kind of opportunities you're seeing that are opening up as a result of that?
Yeah, I mean those are areas we were hoping we'd be able to build off of, because we were a little bit more veteran, certainly up front. And outside of Kamari, we're pretty veteran in the running back position, so and tight ends also. So I mean, you're hoping maybe you can get something established there. But you know, if we're going to play the way we want to play, we're going to have to pass the ball more effectively. You know, that certainly was a factor Saturday. And hopefully it's just, you know, something we'll keep getting better at as we move forward. And we've done some good things, done some things that weren't so good. And, you know, it's a little bit of everything, you know, accuracy, route running, things like that, and protection at times. So those are the things that we got to get pieced together. And again, just after practice today, there's still a lot to work on. There will be all season long.
Blake Orson, Hawkeye headquarters. Kirk, after the game, we talked to Jay Higgins, and he was one of the first people to say, you know what, like, you pull the thumb. You know, I could have done a better job on that play that was resulted in a touchdown. And I just think, you know, talking about the 0-2 team, leadership was a big thing we heard about today when you pointed that out, that comparison to the team. How important is that type of leadership in this type of week where you're trying to just flip the page and turn things around?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of points there. So I'll go back to Brad. Pretty much each and every year, the last, I don't know how many. You know, I'll show his quotes after that game, that specific game, and the way he talked about how he felt, how his teammates were feeling, and it was everybody taking accountability, whether it was Gallery, Clark, you know, whomever it may be, Fred Russell, guys felt like, you know, they were responsible as a team effort, not just one guy. So, you know, that's a takeaway, and, you know, you've seen it with Jack Campbell, now you're seeing it with Jay. And I would tie that into another lesson, just like I talked about before, with Brad learning from Kyle. You know, I think certainly Jay's learned from Jack, and encourage all of our guys, you know, if you want to be a good player, do what the guys on our team that are really good, do what they do, follow them. Those are the guys you want to watch, and try to model yourself after. And I've said this during the summertime, Jay's kind of like the anti-modern college day football player. You know, he didn't run off when Jack was starting in front of him. He learned, kept working, and he learned from Jack. And I think it's really paid off for him last year, and it's paying off this year already.
I want to see him with KGN. Over the first couple games, we still haven't seen a lot of LaShawn Williams. Caleb and Kamari look like they're getting more carries than him. Is LaShawn still recovering, or is he fully healthy? Are we going to see more of him going?
Yeah, I think he's healthy. That's the first thing I want to say is there was a run he made, not this week, but a week ago in practice, where he hit, you know, got his foot down, and boy, he made a really nice cut, and it looked like, okay, I think he's back to where he should be, and hopefully, I think he is. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, we've rotating 3 guys for the most part right now, and there's only so many carries. But yeah, LaShawn, I'll go out on a limb and say he's going to really, you know, do a good job for us this year. He's practicing well. I think he is healthy now, and you know, he's a well-rounded guy, so he'll play a lot for us, I'm sure.
Kirk, Scott Document again with the Athletic. I wanted to ask you about Troy, Jared Parker. He took over at Purdue after I think it was after your game. Beat Darrell Hazel over there in 16. He's been in Notre Dame. And he takes over Troy, which was, you know, won 11 games last year, was really good in just about every statistical category, and then lost like everybody.
Yeah.
Where do you draw from to look back? I mean, is it just the first 2 games? Do you look back at what he called at Notre Dame, or what he even did at Purdue, or, you know, how do you try to figure out what they may do and do well?
I don't want to say it's 100%, but there's a lot of DNA with West Virginia State. Whether it be him and both coordinators were there for several years in West Virginia, so I guess that'd be one place, a special teams coordinator came from Akron, I believe. So, you're digging out film from previous places just to kind of see what they're thinking. And there's some similarities and all those types of things. And then we've got 2 game films at least, so it's way better than it would have been 2 weeks ago. But yeah, what you're referencing is it's a sign of the times in college football too, especially what Coach Parker had to, walk into. It's tough. A lot of guys, left and went to other places, and that's one of the challenges, I think, modern day challenges of coaching changes now. You're going to see more of that, and that's tough.
Kirk, Jeff DeGraff, KCCI out of Des Moines. We were talking to Hayden Large outside, and what a story he has and the resiliency that he's had to endure and overcome what he went through. And you talked about the resiliency of your team. When you look at Hayden, just what impresses you? What is it like for you to watch his journey lead to this moment where he's playing powerful football after everything came?
I missed the first part. You said Hayden Large?
Yes, Hayden
Yeah,
Large, sorry.
okay. Yeah, Hayden's a great story. I'm still trying to figure out how he ended up in my office. A couple of Decembers ago, he and his dad, and I figured there had to be an Iowa tie because his name's Hayden, right? So I figured, okay, you must have family or whatever. They don't. They're from, over in Michigan, west side of Michigan. But just, there was a connection a little bit through some other sources or whatever, and showed up here. He's been a great guy since he's shown up here. And I'm not saying he's Zach Van Valkenburg, or Stilianos, but comes from a smaller program, just came in here and worked. He's got an unbelievable attitude, really good learner, and very versatile in his play. And I think he's taken a real big jump, and that would be my comparison to Zach, because it's tough. He came in here, and there's a lot of guys, but he's worked hard physically, he's worked hard mentally,